What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a great day as always. If you guys haven't already subscribed, make sure you guys go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Today we're getting ready to film Jeep WJ versus everything. We're going to start filming tomorrow for that series. This will be season 1, episode 1. Be filmed tomorrow and probably be live by like Saturday. Basically what it's going to be is we're putting our Jeep WJ against some of the weirdest and coolest and most insane off-road builds you guys have seen. And we're going to get a bunch of videos, like kind of like a little competition, Jeep WJ versus everything. So in order to get ready for that, we have a few things we have to do. For starters, we're going to need recovery points on this thing. So my plan for now, install this hitch, then we'll be able to mount a D-ring on the back and recover the Jeep if we get it stuck. So today's goal is to put some recovery points on the Jeep. We'll get this installed. We'll head to the store, buy one of the little like receiver D-ring mounts, and get this thing ready to record for tomorrow. This should be fairly straightforward to install. We do have to modify the bumper a little bit to make this work. Since this Jeep wasn't optioned with one of those to begin with, we're gonna have to make some room for it, which shouldn't be too hard. We can just cut through that with like an angle grinder or something simple like that. So for starters, I'm gonna figure out exactly how this is gonna sit and probably mark out the bumper and see where we have to cut. So to get started with this, we're gonna go ahead and remove the rear bumper to begin with. That's pretty much fairly simple. A few screws underneath the trunk, I believe. Then basically just body clips. We'll get that out of the way, get this installed. Then we'll mark where we have to cut, because we're gonna have to cut the bumper a little bit, I believe. So that way we can clearance out for this. Once all that's installed, I'm gonna have to run to the store and pick up more clips, because I'm sure I'm gonna break some removing these because they're super hard to get out without breaking. We're also gonna have to go pick up like a little receiver D-ring mount thing. So we're gonna pick one of those up, pick up some body panel clips. But for starters, let's go ahead and remove the bumper. So from what I've seen online, there's these screws in here. Then you have to remove all these clips underneath. That'll be basically the middle section. Then on the side, there's gonna be some clips in here. I'm not sure if I've cut mine off or if they're still in there or what, because I did cut a lot. And then there might be a little bit more back in there to remove everything. But it's basically just clips and a couple screws and you'll get this thing off. So I'm gonna go ahead, remove this, and I'll catch up with you guys when I'm done that. So I've removed the bolts on both sides and all the clips here. And actually looking at the sides, it looks like I've already gone ahead and cut off all the clips that were holding the bumper on the side. So now there should just be a couple clips on the inside here that we'll have to pop out when we pull the bumper off. But seems like me cutting up my Jeep helped us out here. Started pulling the bumper off and realized forgot a couple clips down here, so I'm gonna have to pop these off. And once all these are off, the bumper will finally be able to come off and we can install the hitch. And with those last 4 clips removed, we were able to remove the whole back bumper. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get some jack stands and set this up on jack stands so we can kind of get the pretty much where it's gonna mount up figured out. From there, we'll go ahead and undo the bolts. I believe it just uses the bolts from the skid plate on the gas tank. So we'll have to support that too when we replace the bolts for this. So I've gone ahead and supported the gas tank. So now we'll begin removing the bolts on each side. That way we can mount our hitch up there. I just held it up and it's gonna sit like right around here. So it should be super high, which is kind of was my main concern. I didn't want it to be below the bumper because that would rob us of a bunch of clearance. However, with it so high, we are gonna have to trim the bumper a fair bit, which I'm not too concerned about because once this thing gets the axles and everything, it'll be getting custom bumpers all around. So one side down, I've gone ahead and removed all 4. I just left 2 of them in here. That way, in case something goes wrong and this jack falls or something, there's still something in there to support the skid plate from dropping all the way out. Because that would mess up a lot of stuff because that's all that's holding your gas tank up basically. So I'm gonna leave this in here and switch to the other side and repeat the process.
One eternity later.
So that was extremely annoying to get this up here by myself with no help because it's super heavy just to lift up by yourself and work on one side. I ended up using all these wood blocks we used when we lifted the Jeep to help hold it up. So I got just 2 of the bolts in. It's not all the way bolted in. And it sits fairly high for a recovery point, which is good. It's basically kind of lined up with the gas tank, which I'm sure probably isn't the safest option. But, you know, we don't really drive this car anyway, so it's not a huge deal or concern. Pretty much only drive it 10 minutes, maybe on the weekends. And besides that, it's just off-road, so not a huge concern. So I'm going to go ahead and finish wrapping up all these bolts on the side, then these straps that go down to the gas tank skid plate, and catch up with you guys once all that's done. So the hitch is on, everything's bolted up nice and tight. Next step is going to be going to the store, and we're going to pick up a receiver that'll have a spot for a D-ring so we can pull out the Jeep by this when we get stuck. Because that's basically the biggest flaw the Jeep has right now. And without the lockers, we're going to be getting stuck quite a bit. So we're going to need to go ahead and get one of those. I'm going to head to the store and pick one of those up. Once we get back, we'll be able to go ahead and reinstall the bumper cover and trim it to make room for all of this stuff that we just installed. Shouldn't be too terrible. I mean, I'll just cut it up and put it back on. And once that's on, we'll be good to go off-roading tomorrow. So I got what we were looking for, just slides right in the hitch. Then I also picked up a pin and everything. So now we'll have a recovery point on the back of the Jeep to pull ourselves out with when we get stuck. Something to hook up to the red Jeep so we can get out of the mud and all that stuff. So basically, next step is going to be putting the bumper cover back on and cutting that to fit. However, I picked up some food, so I'm going to eat that first. And then we're going to go ahead and take care of this after that. So now we have to go ahead and cut the bumper cover. So my plan is to cut as little as possible so it looks as clean as it can. So I'm going to measure in between these and then just cut out a square that is the same size as that. Obviously, we'll probably have to cut a little bit more, but I want to cut as little as possible so it looks as factory as possible. So we're going to go ahead and measure out the middle of that and get to cutting. So as you can see, we got the bumper back on and it looks factory. You can barely even see our cut. It looks so clean back there. So super pleased with how that came out. So that basically does wrap up that install. I do have to go ahead and put all the clips back in for the bumper. I have to go ahead and then reinstall all the bolts and clip the sides on, the 2 screws up there. And then the bumper's back on and we're good to go. And now we have a recovery point for when we get stuck. We don't have to pull ourselves out by the axle anymore. We will hook up to this D-ring with the winch and get ourselves out of any situation really that we're going to be in with this Jeep. Now this is kind of like a temporary thing until we build full bumpers and all that cool stuff for this Jeep. It's not a permanent recovery point. This is just for the time being until we get the axles done and until we get everything else done. Also, quick little update on the axles. We're waiting on parts. I did order a bunch of parts for those. We're also, steering kits should be ready by the end of this month. Just waiting on a couple little pieces there and finalize shipping, and those will be available. And I'm super pumped to be running that steering on this Jeep. It's going to turn out so sick. And we're going to have steering for 1-ton axles. We're going to have steering for stock WJ axles, JK axles, pretty much any Jeep you could think of. We're going to have steering kits available for those. But that basically wraps up this video. Super pleased with how this came out. It turned out super clean. And now we have a way to get out of the mud when we get stuck. That'll be super helpful tomorrow when we're off-roading in case we do get stuck. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching all the videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.